Everyone get out!
Tom Wheatic-Veal asks, if Caption Guy was to be killed... I can dream. Can I be the funeral clown? I think in that eventuality we would all be the funeral clown. Funeral clown? What? Funeral clown, and we would all take the piss out of Caption Guy and mock him mercilessly and be glad he was dead, because. Sorry, Caption Guy, but it's true. I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong, but Miodrag Mijatovic asks, do I like Star Trek? No. What makes you say that? Why would you think that I'd be a massive geek that likes Star Trek? I have no idea what would give you that impression. I can't do it. I can't keep a straight face, man. I just can't do it. I would be so bad at poker. So bad. Akina YTOGF. Your togs or good fun? I can into acronyms. He has some other questions, and I'm going to answer the third one, which is, are you going to grind the Chinese heavy tank line? I am, and I kind of am very slowly getting towards... I'm actually nearly at the IS-2 now, and then I'm going to continue up from there. I've actually... My current state of play is I've still got the Type 58. I had to think about that. I'm quite close to unlocking the IS-2, but I'm going to keep the Type 58 and then grind out the mediums, probably even more slowly, because the heavies are my main goal. But I've also got a Chinese heavy crew that's been sat in my 112 for a while. I don't think there's even 100% crew skill yet, because I don't play it that often. But I'm just going to retrain them for the IS-2, and then obviously I'll have, you know, I've got a Chinese crew trainer as well, which is very useful. So yeah, I'm quite interested in trying out the Chinese line. They've got good armor, but terrible gun depression, but they're kind of very Soviet in that regard. So yeah, there you go. Ravzi Altian asks, considering your subscriber base is quite low, maybe medium. Thanks, man. Thanks. No, I know you didn't mean it like that. Can you watch all replays that are sent to you? This, I could sit here and answer this question in full, but actually I'm going to point you to a video that I did on the subject of replays. It's in the miscellaneous playlist. It's called Where Have All the Replays Gone? And in it I basically try and explain my methodology with replays. The very short answer is no, I don't watch every single replay that gets sent to me, just because I decided early on that wouldn't be a good use of my time. But everything else is answered in that video, so I recommend you guys go and check it out if you have any, you know, you can post any questions or rants underneath that one, I guess. John Wolf asks, what did I think, or do I think, about the T-34-3? I've only ever played it on the test server. Honestly, didn't enjoy it, but I think in the right hands it can be okay. I think the main thing it's that 175 pen 122mm gun with absolutely awful handling. Yeah, I don't know, if you can stand that on a medium tank with a decent-ish mobility, then but there are better premium mediums in the game for sure. Unless you absolutely want a Chinese crew trainer, I would get another medium first. Crew, good name there, man, asks, if I'm in the real Scotland, why don't I wear a kilt? Hey, I'm wearing a kilt right now, it's just obviously, you know, you can't see it because this is head and shoulders only. But, you know, I'm every time I play World of Tanks, I'm wearing a kilt, you guys. Actually, no, seriously, have you seen how expensive kilts are? It's ridiculous. There's actually a kilt hire shop in town, and you can go and buy a kilt, but on the other hand, I prefer to eat and pay my electricity bill and rent and things like that, and you know, keeping the computer on by paying the electricity and keeping the internet going, it's quite a bit more important than buying a kilt. So yeah, I've probably worn one in the past at some point, but it's not like I go around all the time. As for whiskey, yes, I do drink whiskey. I've even occasionally drunk whiskey on the stream before with I don't know if the results were hilarious exactly. I didn't exactly get drunk, but I certainly got a bit tipsy. I don't know. have I ever been to the Czech Republic? Is the final bit of his kind of multi-parted question. He said question, but it was a lie. It was actually 3. I have been to the eastern end of Europe, but only to Croatia. I've never actually been to the Czech Republic, so I don't know. Croatia's pretty close, actually. You can go. Let's see. You'd have to go through Austria. I'm actually looking at Google Maps right now. Or Hungary. You could go via Hungary, I suppose. But then if you went via Hungary, you'd have to go through Slovakia or Austria anyway. So I guess Austria. But yeah, no, Croatia was really nice though. Mostly saw Zagreb, which was full of big Soviet era. Well, not Soviet era even. Communist era, I should say. Concrete, like massive apartment blocks, which is slightly dystopian. But I quite liked it. We also got to visit the Adriatic coastline, a place called Rijeka, which was incredibly beautiful in the summer. Yeah, but that bit of coastline. I mean, further down the coast, is it in Split? I don't know. I probably said that wrong as well. But I'm sure that's where they filmed bits of... Like, isn't that where they filmed King's Landing? That's in Croatia. So there's some really nice bits. There's nothing to do with the Czech Republic. It's just like, that's the furthest east I've ever been, is Croatia. And the furthest west I've ever been is the west coast of Canada. So that's quite a bit further west than, you know, I've been east. So, yeah, on to the next question. Georgie Kalamerkinov asks... Have I tested myself for multiple personalities? Jedi and Caption Guy, maybe? What are you insinuating, man? That's... What kind of, like, deeply weird, twisted individual would I have to be me and also Caption Guy at the same time? What kind of... I can't even begin to think of the words to describe just how odd an individual I would have to be. I don't know. Somebody actually, I'm going to scroll up a bit. I'm going to skip some questions because Mick S actually, I don't know. Maybe he's hit on something here. I don't know. But to insinuate that Caption Guy and me are somehow the same person, I mean, that's... I don't know. You people come up with some crazy ideas, man. But Mick S said, yeah, you seem to think that Caption Guy is a person. Don't you know that he's a neuron that likes to reside in small, warm, open spaces? And is capable of moving between your computer and cranium at will? It is not alone, and their ultimate aim is world domination. They are in all computers and have managed to infiltrate the minds of many computer users via their headphones. I think, you know, Mick, keep taking the pills, man. I think everybody just keep taking the pills. I think that's probably the safest course of action. Me as that I could be Caption Guy. I mean, come on. You people, honestly, you people. Bob799 says, Jedi, can you please cut your hair? Really? Really? That's a thing you just said. Well, not just said, you know, it was 2 months ago that you wrote that, but really? Really? Okay, we're just going to move on. We're just going to pretend you didn't say that. Just, you know, for everybody's safety and sanity and peace and calm and state of mind and etc, etc. I think we're just going to move on, yeah. We're back to Mick S, who asks, basically, why don't I move? Because this is an employment-related question, and yes, the employment market here is not great. I've considered it, and actually, I really like it here. I've lived in, as I was growing up, before we moved to the island, I lived in a place called West Kilbride for the better part of 10 years. That's where I did most of my growing up. And I actually only my family moved here when I was kind of like early teens. And actually this feels more like home than anywhere else I've ever lived, even though living on the West Coast was alright, you know, further down the West Coast, in Ayrshire and, you know, kind of like around the orbit of Glasgow, I guess you could call it, the wide orbit of Glasgow. But no, this is like this is somewhere that feels more like home than any of the places I've lived before, and I'm reluctant to move because of that. And one of the reasons I started doing the YouTube stuff with an eye to actually maybe making enough out of it to make a living is so that I can find a way to stay here. But ironically, I have, during times when I've had particularly troublesome internet problems, I've actually, that's been more of a I'm not going to say a motivating factor, but it's made me more take a hard look at moving somewhere with better internet. Not for employment purposes, but somewhere with better internet, so I can actually not have to spend, you know, 12 plus hours uploading every single video kind of thing. So yeah, it's funny, like internet speeds will do what employment or lack of employment won't. But no, I'm hanging in there, and if fibre gets here, which it should do eventually, that should make things a lot easier, and hopefully I'll have enough subs by that point anyway. I mean, we're probably talking 2 or 3 years that I might have hit the magic number where actually no, I can have stopped trying to receive unemployment. You know, I've signed off unemployment benefits, and I'm just supporting myself from doing this because I would really like to do that at this point. I still search for work because that's the thing I have to do, but I've been employed for what? Unemployed for like 2 years now. It's kind of like the number of rejections I've had, it does get to you. Whereas this has been growing, this has been getting better, this has been building up to something. So you can see why I'm feeling more optimistic, and you know why I want to do this more than keep bashing my head against that other thing. So yeah, I have considered it, but if I can find a way to stay here, I'm going to stay here, I think. Internet or no internet problems. This is from Staff Sergeant Killer. I actually recognise what SZD is. Yeah, that is Staff Sergeant, right? He asks, how did I come up with PointyHairedJedi? I'm sure I've addressed this before, but basically to reiterate very quickly, there is an American cartoonist called Scott Adams who does the Dilbert comic strips, which is syndicated in many newspapers worldwide. Used to be a really big fan when I was growing up, and this is a measure of how long he's been doing it. He's been, is it like, God, how long has Scott Adams been doing the Dilbert comics now? We've got to be talking at least 15 years. It's got to be at least that long. But yeah, some of the characters I still really like Catbert he's had some hilarious things to do over the years. But there is another character called the Pointy-Haired Boss, who is just like the world's least competent boss. And for some reason I decided that Pointy-Haired Jedi would be, you know, like that I'm somehow the world's least competent Jedi. It's almost like subconsciously, I don't know. Maybe years and years ago when I came up with the name, maybe Caption Guy was already around and he was like using subliminal messaging to, I don't know, but yeah, somehow the two mashed together and I got PointyHairedJedi, and I've used that for a long time now, so it's just kind of like the thing I've stuck with, because it's just, I don't know, it's unique. There would never were any other PointyHairedJedis. I don't know, I might be getting to the stage where somebody somewhere decides to imitate me and pretend to be me on something. I actually had a message the other day, probably, you know, several months ago at this point, but firstly, if you're watching this, I apologise for never replying, it's just I've only just remembered it. But it was somebody that actually registered a dummy account on League of Legends in the name of PointyHairedJedi, just on the off chance that I should ever want it. Now, I'm never likely to actually ever want that, but apparently I've hit the stage where people pretending to be me in other things is, you know, maybe that's a possibility at this point. It's like even on Twitter, I can't be fully PointyHairedJedi, but that's because that's the other. There is one annoyance about PointyHairedJedi in that it's, what, is it 14 characters long? Or is it 15? I can't remember. But there's a lot of websites where that's just one character too long. So instead of being PointyHairedJed, I have to think of something else. So there are a few websites where I'm not PointyHairedJedi, but only because PointyHairedJedi wouldn't fit. That's really annoying. Surgeon Tom Tom. Be honest with us, Jedi. Are you the Caption Guy? I think we've covered this, you guys. I think we've covered this. Karen Michael asks, Everyone's all the Caption Guy questions. I mean, come on. Well, actually, I say all. It's been like 3, but still, that's 3 too many, you guys. Just 3 too many. What is Caption Guy's secret identity? Asks Cameron Michael. Did I say Cameron Michael already? I'm just gonna, you know, hedge my bets here and cover all bases. Cameron Michael. Cameron Michael asks Cameron Michael. I don't know. There, I did see a theory that, you know, he is the Stig. It's basically what the Stig does on his time off. Maybe that's a possibility. Another is that he's Batman. I've heard yet another that it's actually Elvis, but I don't know. It could be. I don't know. It could be anybody. But whoever he is, he's chosen to be my nemesis, my tormentor, my I'm trying to think of a suitable analogy here. He's chosen to be the really sarcastic Khan to my really amazingly good-looking and handsome Captain Kirk. And I don't know. He's just there. Damn him. He's just there. Oh well, we'll get away from him someday. Maybe, probably not. It's like, maybe it's the best I can be optimistic here with, and then reality kicks in. It's like, no, he's never going away, is he? No. Rumbus Games asks a couple of questions actually. I'm going to answer the second kind of question. Why isn't there talking by Circle on the streams about QB? Well, there's a couple of things here, and I'm sure I've touched on this before as well. But most streamers, it's just like a politeness thing. It's like, if you go in somebody's chat and you start talking about a different streamer for that particular game, generally that's considered bad manners, unless you know for a fact that streamer X also knows streamer Y. Like, for instance, if you came on Circon's chat and started talking about Highflyer or Fosh or whatever, well, obviously they've played together. They're friends. They've been to Gamescom together. That's fine. It's if you go into some random WoW streamer's chat and start talking about some other WoW streamer, unless you know that they know each other, you're probably going to get a negative reception. And also, bear in mind, also there's going to be a bit of professional rivalry going on, because QB and Circon are the 2 biggest Twitch streamers by a fair margin. So does that as well. It's not like there's some super secret, like pistols at dawn reason why they like. It's not like they have a deadly animosity to each other. I don't know why people get this impression. That's just silly, really. It's the reasons I've said. It's nothing super secret or anything. It's just, it is what it is. Oliver March asks, will I play World of Warships? Probably when it gets to the point of being when they start taking applications for probably the closed beta, I would imagine. I mean, I know Jingles has said he's gotten into the closed alpha, and then obviously can't really say anything about it, show any footage about it, but I don't think I'm not a big enough channel. I don't really think I'm especially on Wargaming's radar as far as YouTubers goes. So I don't know. I probably have to apply like everybody else, but I might be able to. I might have an alternative route. You may or may not know that I also post my content to the PC War Machine website, which is part of the Kitmaker Hub, which is one of the largest military modelling websites or collections of websites on the internet. And I was actually able, through Kitmaker, through Jim Starkweather, that's how I got my beta access to the other game, War Thunder Ground Forces. Wow, did I really just blank on that? I did. Well done. But I don't know, when Warships hits the beta stage, I might get in through that way. I don't know, we'll see. But I would certainly like to give it a go. I mean, one of the reasons I suck at playing games is it's 3 dimensions, you guys. It's so complicated. Whereas, driving around on a flat surface, or in the case of ships, floating around, I think my puny brain could probably cope with that a lot better. And now, we come to the last question. It's not actually chronologically the last question, but I wanted to make it the last question because it might be the question that gets the longest answer. And it's also a question about books. And I like books, you guys. I do. I mean, I couldn't eat a whole one, but I really do read a fair bit. Not as much as I used to. You know, before I discovered computers, I had books, and so it got to the point where my parents were like, "Oh my God, he's reading again," kind of thing. And I grew up with. One of the reasons I'm such a big sci-fi nerd today is I grew up reading Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke and so many others, and it's just I don't read as much as I used to, and I would like to read more, but obviously I'm doing more computery stuff these days, and that takes a bit more time. But I still try and read at least a book a month, if not more. So when I saw this question, I thought, yeah, okay, this is a question that I need to go and really think about, because it's a good question. And it's a question that, it's kind of a Desert Island Discs kind of question. Basically, it's, if I was stranded on a desert island, and I could only take 12 books, unfortunately, they've, I should say actually, it's Robert Charlson that's asked this, I should actually say who asked it. What 12 books would I take with me? And series are okay, which I think is an exceptionally kind thing to say. So, I had to go away, and I had to think about this, and I had to write a list. And I'm probably going to review this back later and think, why didn't I mention such and such a book? But every book that's on this list, I actually have literally written down a list. And also, yes, that's somebody bought me that. That does not answer the cats dogs question from earlier. That somebody asked. I don't know if I even actually answered that, but there was a question about cats versus dogs, and I decided, in the interests of not starting, you know, World War III in the comments section, because you know, you just don't do that. That's just dangerous, man. Answering questions like that. So, in no particular order, apart from the first one, because the first one is easily one of my favourite books. But I'm so glad he said series, though. Yeah, I just couldn't choose like 12 individual books. And I was tempted, I limited myself to 2 series as well. I was so tempted to, I know I'm not even answering the question yet, but I was so tempted to just say the Discworld series, because that's like 20 odd books or 30 odd or whatever it is now, but I thought that was a bit too cheaty. And then I thought, can I pick just one? And I can't pick just one of Terry Pratchett's Discworld books, or even any of his other books that he's written. It's just, so even though I really like Terry Pratchett, he's not on this list, just because I can't choose. Anyway, the number 1 book is Stand on Zanzibar by John Brunner. And I think this is just utterly fantastic. This is one of my favourites, if not my favourite book. Just fiction, non-fiction, not fiction, non-fiction, but you know, science fiction or just regular, plain old boring fiction. It's this. It's absolutely, it's wonderful. I would have to do a whole video on that. I do occasionally have thoughts of, how about if I just do videos talking about books? But I don't know, would anyone watch that? I don't know. I mean, I can witter on for long enough about things. I'm actually looking at my recording counter now and it says 1 hour plus, and I'm probably going to edit it down to less than that, but I've just been sitting here thinking, oh well, if there's enough, you know, questions there for like half an hour's worth of stuff. And instead I'm here an hour later still talking, so... But anyway, yeah, Stand on Zanzibar. I'm just going to quickly run through the rest of the list. A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick, which is ironic because I really don't like most of what he wrote, apart from that one book, which somehow transcends everything else. And I know a lot of his works inspired other stuff, but that's the only one I can actually stand to read as a book and enjoy as a book. The Honorary Consul by Graham Greene, another tough choice, just choosing one Graham Greene. I knew I had to have one in there. Our Man in Havana came very close to being on this list, but in the end I went with the Honorary Consul. The Cyberiad by Stanislaw Lem, who is so underappreciated as an author. He's probably more known for Solaris, that's his famous work. And the 2 film versions of Solaris are really good. But the book is even better, even though it came because he was a Polish author. He actually only died a couple of years ago, but he wrote his stuff in Polish, which was then translated first into German, and then it was translated from German into English. So it probably lost 1 or 2 things along the way. But the Cyberiad's my favourite. It's this book of science fiction fables, And the two protagonists are these robots that are... I think it's one that everyone should read. It's absolutely fantastic. Even if you don't like science fiction, I think the Cyberiad is probably one that transcends the genre in some way. The complete short stories of J.G. Ballard. While I like the novels of J.G. Ballard a lot, his short stories is where he's just an absolute master of the art form. And I was like, I mean, he's another one that he only died a few years ago, and that was pretty sad. But his body of work is so fantastic. I could have just, like, I've got half of these books. I could have sat here and held them up one by one, but yeah, him and, you know, Greene was very good as well. And there's a lot of science fiction authors that I particularly like for their short stories, but for that collected body, I don't think anyone quite comes close to J.G. Ballard. 100 Years of Solitude by, well, you know who by. If you don't know 100 Years of Solitude, then man, you're just doing it wrong. The Game of Thrones series, and this includes the ones not yet written, obviously. I mean, you know, I'd have to have, like, the pigeons that deliver my internet as he writes them, over the years that he writes them. The pigeons would have to be, I don't know, we'd have to get several pigeons together to deliver the new books to my isolated desert island. Because, you know, it's just the rules, man. I'm allowed a whole series, damn it! Even one's not written yet. Yeah, I really need to reread those as well, because it's been so long since I actually did. And I've actually, talking about Croatia, the friend I went to visit in Croatia, it's great having international friends. You can go and stay places for free. He actually, George R.R. Martin and Hiraki, what's his name, Murakami. Is it Hiraki? I can't remember. Thingy Murakami, the Japanese author as well. He also turned me on to him. But I am very, very grateful to, you know, Vlado's probably not watching this, but if you're out there, Vlado, thank you for introducing me to George R.R. Martin, because I just love a Game of Thrones. Frank Herbert's Dune series, because it's just magnificent. Up until reading Stand on Zanzibar, I would have said Dune as my top, you know, #1 all-time favourite book, and it's still very, very close to the top of the list. The whole series is just superb. But I don't know, it's got some of my favourite characters ever written, and it's like it's kind of like the science fiction version of what Tolkien did, where he kind of came up with... do you know how long he spent on Dune? He spent like a decade writing just Dune and coming up with the mythos and the universe. And, you know, Tolkien spent even longer, and he came up with entire languages and, you know, whatever. But Dune is almost the equivalent of what Tolkien did. And there's so much that that Herbert wrote that never saw the light of day, just like notes and scribbles, and some of it kind of surfaced in what we saw with the prequels and sequels written by his son. I read the prequel trilogy; they were okay. I don't want to read the pair of, you know, the pair of books that were written as number 7 in the main Dune sequence. I don't want to do it. No. The prequels were okay, but they were... that's all they were. I wouldn't... yeah. And then there was the 3 that he did with that they did with the other trilogy, way back in the day with the... was it the Machine War or whatever the heck they called it? When they were beating Omnius and the backstory of the ancient enmity of the Atreides and the Harkonnens, and it's like, nah, I didn't like that at all. So the original Dune series. But I'm a massive fan of Frank Herbert. Besides that, I think he wrote some absolutely fantastic books. I especially like George X. McKee as a character. He's, again, one of my favourite sci-fi characters. I think in a previous video, actually the Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri video, I mentioned the Destination Void novels. I've only read one of those. I want to read the rest that he wrote with Bill Ransom. He's just a fantastic author. And of course everyone knows him for Dune, and that's what he's famous for, and it's a magnificent achievement. But I wish other people would go out and read his other books as well, because they're well worth a read. I did say I was going to go through this list quickly, didn't I? I think I lied. I lied to you guys. The Years of Rice and Salt by Kim Stanley Robinson. And again, this was a tough choice because he wrote the Mars trilogy, which I really like. He's written some other really good novels, which I really like. But I, in the end, come back to this because it's some of the bits, some of the sections of the novel. I mean, the whole idea of the novel is fantastic, and some of the prose style in certain sections of the novel, it's actually almost poetic. It's really nice. It's really well written. I don't know. I just, it's a book that I could come back to again and again, and that I do come back to again and again. It's just like these are all books that I can and have reread many times, and that's kind of why they're on this list. H.G. Wells, this was a really tough choice. In the end, I went with The Shape of Things to Come, which, again, I think is a wonderful book. It's been a few years since I read it, actually. This was a tough choice, because I almost went with... I mean, this one's kind of in his science fiction vein, but most of my favourite H.G. Wells novels are actually his straight-up fiction ones, like Tono Bungay or Anne Veronica. The History of Mr. Polly is absolutely fantastic. He wrote some very good some books. He's actually kind of underappreciated as a satirist, I'd almost say, in some of his novels. I mean, Tono Bungay is the one that comes to mind when I say that, especially, but also some of the stuff he wrote with Anne Veronica as well. I mean, I was a bit disappointed by the end of that, but that's... you could always call that an early feminist novel, and some people do. I maybe wouldn't quite, given its conclusion, but given the era it was written in, like, hardly anyone else writing like that. That's, I don't know. Anyway, H.G. Wells, that was a tough one. I'm sure everyone was expecting me to pick like one of his really science fiction ones, like, you know, The War of the Worlds or The Invisible Man, which are fun little reads, or The Island of Dr. Moreau. But no, it's The Shape of Things to Come. So there you go. That's maybe not an answer anyone was expecting there. It's kind of science fiction-y, but it's more kind of, I don't know what you'd even call it, speculative fiction, maybe. Almost alternate history kind of stuff, except it's not really alternate because he's writing about the future. And actually, you could call Stanley on Zanzibar that as well. That's also very, very speculative in nature, in the way that it lays out. And I know I'm coming back to this, but one of the things this book does incredibly well that you don't often see is that he doesn't get it wrong with many of his predictions. I'm going to say that, but also it really plays around with the idea of language and how language changes over time, and just kind of like the shape of society, and there's so much good stuff in that book. I could spend so long talking just about that. Right, I'm nearly at the end, you guys. I'm nearly at the end. I wanted to pick an Iain Banks for the list, and I thought this would be a really tough choice because there's all of his Iain Banks and all of his Iain M. Banks novels. But actually, no, the answer just popped right into my head. Inversions. And I can't precisely say what it is about Inversions that just pops it up there to the top of my list of almost, I guess, favourite ones. Because normally if you ask me favourite Iain M. Banks, I go like The Use of Weapons, or maybe The Crow Road, or I'm not quite sure what else I'd say for that. You know, Accession was quite good, but for some reason Inversions is just like popped into my head, and it's like, no, actually, yeah, no, Inversions. And I don't know why. He wrote so many good books, but that's just the one that's... Maybe because it's not quite like anything else he ever wrote. I actually had the pleasure of meeting him once. He came up for the Hebridean Book Festival a couple of years ago, and he actually did 2 nights. He did one night with his Iain Banks hat on, and one night with his Iain M. Banks hat on. And I was a total geek. I went to both, and afterwards I got to get some books signed by him, and I actually got to have my photo taken with him. I actually might even... I'll see if I can dig that out. But yeah, that is... I'm really, really glad that I got to meet the man himself, and I was quite... I'm sure any fan of his was quite sad when he passed away, but it's just... It's the first time I've ever got to meet one of my favourite authors, and then it's like, oh, okay. Damn it. But growing up, it's like nearly all the authors that I was reading were people that unfortunately had passed away already, like John Wyndham and James Blish and Isaac Asimov. All died, you know, well before I was born. Even John Brunner died long before I even knew who John Brunner was. Was it 1996? And there's not that many, you know. Arthur C. Clarke only died... It's not that many years ago now, but I think my chances of meeting him were probably fairly slim. So it's like, I don't know. I kind of grew up on new wave stuff, and it was like, yeah, I'm never ever gonna get to meet any of these people. But I did at least get to meet Iain Banks, and I'm kind of glad about that, and I'm kind of sad that he passed away. And the last one is completely left field, and it's nothing to do with science fiction. I know not all of the list has been science fiction, but a lot of it has. It is a book called The Phantom Tollboth by Norton Juster, and it is a kid's book, but it is possibly... it was one of my favourite books growing up that wasn't science fiction, and even going back and reading it today, a lot of these books, when you read when you're younger, it's like you go back and you think, really, I liked this, I thought this was good, really? But not this one. It's still good, and it holds up, and it's still well written, and it's just... If there's any of you out there with kids and you don't know this book, go get this book, The Phantom Tollboth by Norton Juster, and you won't be disappointed, and your kids won't be disappointed, because it's brilliant, it's superb. And I would happily take this to my desert island with me, even though it is, you know, technically a kid's book. I don't care, it's still well written, and it's still fantastic, and it's still superb. So, books, we ended with a question about books. I like questions about books, you know. Books, I couldn't eat a whole one. Wait, I did that joke already. So original. Anyway, like I said at the beginning of the video, ask any questions for the next one below, and make sure you say question, and so then I know unambiguously that you are asking me a question. You can leave any other comments you like. You can find me on Twitter, phj.official. You can hit the like button. You can check out my other my other QED, that's Q&D videos on the MISC playlist, which is where you'll find them and many others. You can subscribe to my channel, and as always, stay tuned for more.